Hello Booktube, my name is Elizabeth. Welcome back to my channel, Book as in Books. This video is hopefully going to be shorter than my previous video, but my previous video was about 2022, which was almost over and was full of books, and now this video is about 2023, and it's only 2 days old and there's no books in it, so it should be much faster. I want to talk about the activities that I plan to participate in 2023, as well as some personal reading objectives I'm going to set for myself. Now, in some cases, there will be a bit of an overlap, but it's okay. So I'm going to leave links in the description box to every host, every event, every other Booktube thing that I mention. I'm going to leave links in the description box so that you can easily find the information if you want to take part too. So the first event that I will take part in is, of course, the Booktube Prize. It's the reason I started a Booktube channel. I just love the Booktube Prize. It's going to be my third year being a judge. I volunteered to judge nonfiction division again. We have already received the long list of about 80 or 100 books that is pre-established by Robert from Barter Horse, and from this pre-selection, we can vote for up to 20 books. So we don't have to vote for 20, but we can vote for up to 20, and with these votes, Robert creates the final list of 48 books that will be in contention for the Booktube Prize for each division. And I have to say that there are so many good books on that list. Last year there were plenty of books I had never heard of and that I wasn't sure about, but this year it's a very good crop, I think. I think it's going to be a fun Booktube Prize. I'm going to volunteer to judge all 4 rounds. However, the computer hates me. I think that was established last year. The computer selected me for just 2 of the 4 rounds, and the second one was the final, and the computer rejects no one for the final. So for the first 3 rounds, I was chosen just once. So really, the computer hates me. But hopefully this year, the computer will be nice to me and will select me a bit more often. But anyway, I'm going to keep an eye on the Booktube Prize. Even if I'm not selected, I read books that are finalists, I guess. I try to read books that are for the Booktube Prize. So I'm going to take part in that activity. The next activity is perhaps related a bit to the Booktube Prize or has something in common. It is a brand new readathon. I've just said the title. It is Historathon 2023. It's a brand new event on Booktube. It was announced a few days before January 1, a few days before the new year. The main host is Vin from Revenant Reads, and he asked a bunch of booktubers to be co-host with him. And it is very simple. He simply invites us to read history nonfiction. He has divided the year into 4 segments and has attributed a time period to each segment. So to take part in it, you just have to read 4 books during the entire year. Well, you can just read 1 if you want to, but I want to read at least 1 book per period. In fact, I'm going to aim for 1 per month. But all you need to do is read 1 and you're in. So that's a lot of fun. I realized when I did my wrap-up of last year that I did not read as much history as I thought I had read. So I think it's going to be a good thing. Well, a good thing. That's not in a moral way, but a good thing for me. It's going to make me happy if I read more history nonfiction. There's also a very lively Voxer group. It has already started. It's hard to keep track. There's just so many messages, but it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So that's the second event. Third event, it's not so much an event as a book club, I guess. It is Classics and Company, hosted by Anne Novella and Micah Cummins. They have selected 8 classics, and I'm not going to mention them all. I'm just going to refer you to their videos. And they selected books that I have not read, except one that I've read. The last one that they selected is Anna Karenina, and I've read it, but several years ago. So it may be a good thing that I reread it this year. And for each book, they have chosen a co-host, and I'm very proud to say that they asked me to co-host for Dangerous Liaisons, which is the first book. So that is the book we are currently reading, so from January to mid-December. And it's not a very long book. It's about 400 pages, so in 6 weeks, it's very doable. And there's a Discord group. I'm still figuring out how that works. It's not as easy as Voxer, but I'm going to figure things out. Anyway, so this is not about Dangerous Liaisons per se. I just want to say that they have selected such good books that I want to read every one of them with them. So I'm going to stick with that book club for the entire year, hopefully, at least. Of course, it depends on what's going on around me, life in general, but hopefully I should be able to join them for every book. The third event I want to participate in is No, I've already said 3. I said Booktube, the Booktube Prize Historathon and Classics and Company. So we are down to the 4th. The 4th one is, it's called Read Across Canada. It was created by Jolene from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Jolene is a very strong defendant, proponent, advocate for Canadian literature. And I have to admit that I did not read a lot of Canadian literature last year. So Jolene created this prompt sheet, this event, where she invites us to read 1 book per province. So there are province and territory. So there are 10 provinces in Canada and 3 territories. She has grouped together Northwest Territory and Nunavut. So we have 1 per month. She has created a prompt sheet. So if you want to, you can read the prompts associated, read for the prompts that she has associated with each province, or you can go simply to read 1 book per province, and that's what I'm going to do, I think. I may follow her prompts, but I may not either. Perhaps I'm just going to read 1 book per province, so an author living in that province, or about that province, set in that province. I want to read more Canadian literature, so I'm going to try to follow Jolene's schedule, but maybe not. Maybe I'll just go at my own pace. But anyway, I want to refer you to her activity because it's very good. So that's the place where my objectives and the activities overlap a little bit. So the objective would be to read more Canadian literature, and it overlaps with Jolene's project, which is, it sounds like a lot of fun. And that's the 4 activities, yearly activities that I want to participate in. Now, for the more personal objectives, as I said, I want to read more Canadian literature in general. I won't set a number on it. I think 1 per province, 10 plus the territories, that's 12 or 13. So it's a right amount for me. I am setting a secondary objective that is very closely related to that. I want to read 10 books by French-Canadian authors. It's my culture, it's where I come from. And last year, I didn't count, well, no, I did count, but I didn't say it in my wrap-up. I read 5 books by French-Canadian authors, and that is just pathetic. So for this year, I want to double that amount, and I want to make it to 10. So it's really not that much. It's not even 1 a month, and it overlaps with the project to read more Canadian literature. So it goes together a little bit. So I want to read, I'm setting a number for this one. I want to read at least 10 books by French-Canadian authors. And it shouldn't really be difficult. I should not have any difficulty finding the books. I just need to go and grab them at the library or the bookstore. And I have some on my shelf. I cannot say that I have plenty. I have about half a dozen unread on my shelf, so I could easily pick them up too. So I just need a little push to say, come on, read a little more of your own literature. It's something that you enjoy, because it is something that I enjoy, but for some reason I just did not pick them up last year. So I'm going to try to do that this year. Another personal objective is about geographical diversity, reading the world, I guess. Last year in my wrap-up, I said that I had visited 28 countries. That's the way that I sort of view it. It's not necessarily about the country of birth of the author, it's about where the book is set. So when, in case of nonfiction, it's that's the crux of the book, I guess. If I'm reading a history of England, it doesn't matter whether the author was born in the United States, in England, or in Italy. It's a book about England, and I'm learning about England. So I think that's the point. So last year I visited 28 places, and this year I want just to reach the round number of 30. So basically keep reading from about a wide variety of places. So it can be fiction that is set in a particular country by an author from a particular country, or it could be nonfiction about a particular country. And I say country, but it doesn't have to be country. I don't know exactly how I'm going to count it. Because sometimes it's not about a single country. So, for example, for Historathon, I have a book in mind, which is The Silk Road. Well, I don't remember the title. It's about the Silk Road during the Roman times. So the Silk Road, it covers from China to Italy. So do I count as visited every country in between? I think it's a bit unfair. 1 book, 12 countries, or it makes no sense. So I think I may count that as the Silk Road as a destination. And if I read something else, like the Silk Road in the Middle Ages, perhaps, and then that would be another book about the same destination, I guess. So it wouldn't count for 2, it could count for 1. Same thing if I read about, I don't know, the Andes, which is not just one country, it's several countries or something like that. I don't know. I don't know yet how I'm going to count it, but I want to visit 30 different places on the planet, perhaps in the universe. Yeah, if suppose that I read about Mars or something, perhaps that could count too. But anyway, I want to travel in my books to 30 different places. So that's an objective. And finally, the last one that I have, it's again a bit of a mix of a Booktube activity and a personal objective. There's an activity, I'm going to call that a challenge, a Booktube challenge, which is the Read What You Own challenge. It was created by Ollie from Criminally and Greg from Another Bibliophile Reads, and they simply said that they would read a certain number of books, of their own books, before they would be allowed to buy another one. The number that they set personally was 100, and then somebody upped the ante and decided perhaps they would try for 500. But you can set the number of books at what you want. So I tried with 10, and I did with 10, and I was very happy with that. So what I'm going to do is create my own version of this 100 book challenge. And it's not to buy any book before I have read 100 of my own. But for the next 100 books that I read, I don't know how to say it. I'm basically going to do the 100 book challenge, but one book at a time. It's ridiculous in a way, but basically the way it goes, if I buy a book, I have to read it before I can read another one. Buy another one. If I buy a book, I have to read it before I can buy another one. And I want to do that for the next 100 books. However, I've thought about it, and I need some exceptions. So one exception would be the a book club exception. For example, Dangerous Liaisons for the Classics and Company book club, we have 6 weeks to read it. Well, I've just bought it, I've just shirted it, and if I decide to read the book over 6 weeks rather than gobble it in a couple of days, I won't deprive myself from buying any other book for 6 weeks because I'm going at the pace of the group or something like that. So that would not count as breaking the streak. If I deliberately decide to read slowly, I'm going to have to keep myself honest. So for example, if I read just 2 pages and I'm saying, oh, I'm reading it slowly, I'm allowed to buy something else, and then I come back and I finish the book in 2 days, I've cheated. It's not the same thing. So if really, honestly, I'm going at the slow pace and I know it, I'm going to reach the end of the book, but I'm just going at a slow pace, I won't prevent myself from buying books in between. The second exception is omnibuses. I've just bought this beautiful, gorgeous Dostoevsky omnibus. There are 3, it's not written. There are 3 works of Dostoevsky in that book. There's Crime and Punishment, The Gambler, and The Idiot. And it's in French, by the way, you probably guessed. So I will not read 3 Dostoevskys in a row. I can't. It's too much for my brain. I will not enjoy it. So the rule is that I have to read at least one of them before I'm allowed to buy any other book. So I've decided to start with The Idiot. I am not halfway through the book. I am 100 pages through The Idiot. So that's The Idiot. And that's, well, not quite the... From 100 pages, that's Crime and Punishment and The Gambler. So I'm going to read The Idiot. It's a reread for me, but it's not really a reread because I bought the book specifically for the translator here. And I've never read any, no, not any. I've never read these ones in this translation. So I wanted to read this translation. And so far, I'm really enjoying it. And I'm rambling now. So basically, I have to read one of the 3 books, one of the 3 works in this book for this book to be considered read, I guess, and allow me to read and to buy another book if I want to. So basically, I'm just holding myself to account for the next 100 books that I buy. They must be read before I can move on to the next. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's my objective for this year. I think I can do that during 1 year. I don't think it's going to take me more than 1 year. Yeah. Well, maybe it could take me more than 1 year if I read my TBR in between, because that's a bit the idea too. It's when I finish a book, I don't have to buy a book. I can read one of my own books. And hopefully that's going to be a better way of diminishing the number of unread books that I have than just putting myself on a buying ban. They never work for me anyway. So, That's it. I'm looking at my notebook. Maybe I'm going to show you my notebook, but not in this video. I'm thinking about making a video about a no-nonsense reading journal. Yeah, it could be a fun video. But that's it. 15 minutes. I'm stopping talking right now. Stop rambling. And that's the end of my video. So thank you everyone for watching. Let me know in the comments if you plan to participate in the activities that I mentioned, or if you have other objectives that you think would be fun for sharing. So let me know. I will see you in the next video. À la prochaine!